verdict in the Hernandez Govan trial. In case you missed it, that verdict came out roughly around 10:45 this morning, and it was not guilty on both counts. Hernandez Govan was accused of being the mastermind in the death of rapper Young Dolph. He is now a free man, free to go after 2 not guilty verdicts.
One thing that I know for sure, and I've been knowing this shit for a long time, you kill your haters with success.
This what happened. I'm standing up there, I seen him pull off right here.
Yeah, pull off
right here. Bro, a truck came from right here and pulled up and slammed on brake. Ain't like a movie, bro.
Hernandez Govan just touched down as a free man, but not even a full week out, and he's already running his mouth in interviews, dropping names and speaking heavy on Yo Gotti and his camp. The crazy part, people are already pointing out the slip-ups and contradictions in his stories, and at this pace, Govan might not just risk going back behind bars, he might end up in the crosshairs of the streets. This could get ugly real fast. The second word hit the internet that Govan walked free, the culture split right down the middle. On one side, you had people saying he went through the system, had his day in court, jury said not guilty, let the man breathe, let him live his life. They see him as someone who served his time and deserves a shot to move forward. But on the flip side, just as many are heated, swearing up and down that he's guilty as ever. To them, this wasn't justice. It was a slap in the face to Young Dolph's legacy. Fans and supporters feel like the city got played and the streets don't forget moves like that. At first, though, the ones rooting for him probably felt justified when Govan stepped out the courtroom looking calm, looking humble. He was out there thanking folks, speaking soft, saying all he wanted was to leave Memphis behind and focus on family.
I just want to say thank you to my attorneys, Manny, Robert, Haley, Beth, Handel, my private investigators, and Manny still helped me, you know, and he knew I was innocent. Everybody around me knew I was innocent.
But now, the more he talks, the more people are watching, and the louder the whispers get. He tried to sound like a man who just wanted peace, but that's not what he's actually doing. The moment that verdict dropped and he walked out free, Hernandez wasted no time. He jumped straight online. Now he's flooding interviews, talking nonstop, and every word makes him look worse. Instead of laying low and moving silent like anyone in his shoes would, he's out here spilling so much that he's basically confirming what people used to call rumors.
Whatever money you get, save that, bro. Because nigga, they gonna need it.
You making on this YouTube, you need to put it on your life insurance.
Take this. Everyone remembers Cornelius Smith, right? The one who confessed during trial. Folks clowned him, saying he was a junkie with a messy story, not someone you could take serious. Most people brushed his words off like random nonsense, but now Hernandez is running his mouth in ways that accidentally line up with what Cornelius was saying all along, and that's when things start looking real bad for him. One huge red flag, Hernandez swore up and down he never had any relationship with Yo Gotti. Said he never met him, never did any business, nothing at all.
I just don't respect, you know what I'm saying, man? You know how, you was putting the narrative like I had something, like I was really in on it, you know what I'm saying?
But people aren't buying that for a second. Why? Because Hernandez himself already admitted in the past that he and Big Jook, Yo Gotti's older brother, were tight for years. That right there blows holes in his whole story, and the streets are watching every slip. Fans are calling him out heavy, like, how can you sit there and tell people you never met Yo Gotti when you were moving around side by side with his own brother? Even if he didn't handle direct business with Gotti himself, folks believe there's no way their paths didn't cross at least once. The streets just don't buy that story, and it gets even shakier, because in the same breath, Hernandez starts bragging about how he was working for CMG, Yo Gotti's label. He's out here saying he was signing rappers, scouting new talent, basically playing executive like he was building up the brand from the inside. That's not some distant connection. That's hands-on with Gotti's empire. He even went as far as to say he was trying to line up Straight Drop with a CMG deal. And let's not forget, Straight Drop later got accused of being involved in Young Dolph's murder. That detail alone makes Hernandez's story sound way more twisted than he probably intended. And here's where it gets wild. Cornelius Smith testified in court that Straight Drop's motive was all about money and that Big Jook promised him a record deal. Now Hernandez, out of his own mouth, is confirming that exact same thing. He admitted he was right there in the house with Big Jook and Straight Drop when the music talk came up. That slip alone ties his words back to claims people thought were nothing but shaky testimony. Now people are connecting the dots like crazy. If Straight Drop was sitting around Big Jook hearing about deals, promises, and opportunities, then it starts making sense why he might have thought that taking out Dolph was his ticket in.
Where you at,
Where
dog?
you at? She laughing back. You see me? Dolph at, cuz.
Where you at, dog?
Where you at? Where you at? We in Cash Stadium right now. We just left the store. Where you at right now, dog?
Folks are saying Straight Drop probably believed if he handled Jook's biggest problem, Dolph, then he'd prove his loyalty and finally get that CMG stamp. In his head, this was his one-way shot at stardom, but instead of going up, it all backfired in the worst way. Instead of a deal, he's locked down for life, watching the industry move on without him. That's the tragic twist. He gambled everything, and the streets say he lost it all. And Hernandez, he didn't stop there. He went on to spill even more, saying Cornelius Smith came through the house that same day. According to Hernandez, he thought Cornelius was just pulling up to scoop drugs like usual. He even said he told Cornelius to dip because he was too busy trying to focus on locking Straight Drop into a deal. But here's where it gets insane. Hernandez claims Cornelius turned to him and asked, "They ain't trying to do nothing about Dolph trying to kill Gotti?" That single line blew up the internet. People went wild because Hernandez admitted two things in that moment. First, that he already knew Gotti wanted Dolph out the way. And second, that this was supposedly the first time he ever heard that Dolph might have wanted to kill Gotti. That contradiction set the streets on fire because now it sounds like Hernandez is casually exposing both sides of a deadly war. But fans aren't buying Hernandez's version at all. They're saying if Cornelius could casually bring that up in a room where Big Jook and Straight Drop were sitting, then Cornelius already knew what that meeting was really about. In their eyes, it wasn't just small talk. It was clear the promise of a record deal was being used as bait to push Straight Drop into handling business. So when Hernandez tries to play dumb, people see right through it. The fact that Cornelius felt comfortable enough to drop that line in front of him shows Hernandez wasn't some outsider. He was in the loop the whole time. That's why Cornelius didn't hold back his tongue, because he already knew Hernandez was tied into the bigger picture. And that lines up perfectly with what Cornelius said in court about a conspiracy. Yeah, Cornelius might have been painted as a junkie with a messy life, but people are pointing out he wasn't lying about everything, especially not about that so-called meeting. And now Hernandez, with his own slip-ups, is accidentally backing up the very testimony people once dismissed. And here's where the bombshell really drops. Hernandez basically confirmed that Yo Gotti had tried to take Dolph out multiple times. And if anyone needed proof beyond the talk, the streets are pointing straight to history. Dolph didn't just have one brush with death, he survived multiple attempts before the final hit. The first major attempt went down in 2017 during CIAA weekend in Charlotte. Dolph's SUV got lit up with more than 100 bullets in broad daylight. Broad daylight, just blocks away from the arena hosting the basketball championship. The whole area turned into chaos, multiple cars shredded, shell casings everywhere, and people running for cover in disbelief. There were even heavy rumors that Dolph had already bulletproofed his truck before that Charlotte hit, almost like he knew trouble was brewing from Yo Gotti's camp. The tension was so real it felt like Dolph was preparing for war before the shots ever rang out. 3 men ended up arrested in connection to that ambush: Black Youngster, Frederick Black, and Anus Gardner. They got slapped with multiple charges, including conspiracy and firing into occupied property. But when Dolph was asked about the arrest, he barely blinked. He didn't look stressed. If anything, he looked focused on shining even harder in front of his enemies. Right after surviving the attack, he hit the stage and performed his Yo Gotti diss track play with Yo B. Then he doubled down, dropping 3 more records directly inspired by the chaos: 100 Shots in Charlotte and Bulletproof. That was Dolph's way of saying, "You can't stop me." Eventually, the charges against Black Youngster were dropped. Court documents revealed the only thing tying him to the crime was a rental vehicle in his name. But there was no evidence proving he was behind the wheel or even in the car when the shots went off. Still, the streets never forgot his name being tied to it. And just months later, the second attempt on Dolph's life went down.
He was shot. Detectives say 3 men approached him right in front of Lowell's Hollywood Hotel today, where all 4 were guests. There was a fight. Young Dolph fell to the ground, and that's when one of the 3 suspects opened fire.
This time outside the Lowe's Hotel in Hollywood. It started as a fight with 3 guys in the valet area. Dolph got knocked to the ground, and that's when somebody pulled out a gun and lit him up multiple times. He was rushed into surgery, barely surviving. That moment made it clear somebody out there was determined to see him gone for good. The LAPD even went as far as naming Yo Gotti a person of interest based on what witnesses told them. And not only that, Corey McClendon, one of Gotti's close associates, got arrested near the scene. Police even recovered a gold Escalade tied to the suspects not far from where it all went down. But just like the other cases, the charges didn't stick. McClendon walked free, and nobody has ever been officially charged for that shooting either. But here's the part that had fans stunned. Even after coming that close to death, young Dolph never flinched. He wasn't hiding, wasn't paranoid. People spotted him strolling around solo not long after the shooting, like nothing even happened.
Things happen like you had happened to you. They have epiphanies. They have like life-changing moments. Just want to ask, has your worldview changed at all after what's happened to you?
Not really.
All he cared about was stacking paper and leveling up, no matter who was plotting against him. Then came the darkest chapter, the actual murder of young Dolph, the one that shook the whole culture. Broad daylight, right in his own hometown of Memphis. Dolph pulled up to Makita's homemade cookies, a spot he always supported, always showed love to. That's when the ambush happened. Two masked gunmen ran down on him outside the shop, firing multiple shots before peeling off in a getaway car. The whole hit was caught on surveillance footage, and just like that, Memphis lost one of its most respected voices. And now comes the million-dollar question. Why in the world would Hernandez Govan hop on a public platform and basically incriminate himself and everybody else tied into this bloody saga?
You know, I look at you as like little kids in high school that used to get beat up and now you got a voice since the internet has been invented.
Some people say he's just reckless, too dumb to know when to keep his mouth shut. But others, they believe there's something way deeper at play. Whispers in the street suggest Hernandez might actually be working with the feds. Sources are already floating the theory that the only reason he's walking free right now is because the feds don't even care about him. They're after bigger names. They're saying the feds ain't worried about Hernandez at all. They're chasing a much bigger fish, Yo Gotti. According to this theory, Hernandez already cut some kind of deal. Either he snitched and walked away clean, or the feds are letting him run his mouth on purpose so he can basically build the case against Gotti for them. And when you really break it down, it doesn't sound far-fetched at all. Why? Because Hernandez sat there in front of everybody and flat out admitted that Yo Gotti tried multiple times to get Dolph taken out. Add that to the fact that Dolph survived several assassination attempts before finally being killed. And it feels like Hernandez just connected all the dots out loud, live and direct for the world to hear. That's why people are watching how Yo Gotti's been moving ever since Dolph's death. He's not wilding like before. No reckless stunts, no extra shine. Instead, he's been quiet, calculated, and careful. Fans believe it's because he knows the eyes are on him heavy, and one wrong move could bring the walls crashing down. And if that wasn't enough to stir the pot, people are now pointing at Black Youngster too. Recently, he went viral after suddenly scrubbing CMG out of his bio and claiming he was independent. Then he started dropping cryptic posts that had folks convinced he was throwing shade at Gotti himself. One of them read, "I'm sick of these dudes and I'm going to lead by example. I'm going to show them why." That had the internet buzzing, like what's really going on behind the CMG curtains? I blame the fake OGs, the fake big homies, the fake big brothers, the fake CEOs, the fake teachers, the fake people in your life who never tell you right from wrong. Black Youngster went off in his post adding, "But I get it. It's hard to listen to BS from a BS person. I was once like you, I ain't scared to admit it." And he didn't stop there. He followed up with more cryptic words saying, "I'm cool on that fake love and fake loyalty from a few people I realize been faking for too long. I'm cool with standing alone. I'm cool with the fact that I put trust in the wrong people a few times. I wash my hands. No more making it look good. We either cool or we not. Either way, I'm cool." Then he doubled down again. "I'm not like your favorite rapper. Allegedly, I live what I rap. Whole time, dudes just sound good on songs. If I'm lying, God can take my soul out my body in the next 5 minutes. No cap, I cut a lot of people off that I thought were real like me." Now this is where things hit different, because everybody knows Youngster was front and center in that whole Dolph versus CMG war. He was the loudest voice, the one screaming for CMG every time the beef got hot. And even after Dolph's tragic death, he didn't fall back. He doubled down on the disrespect. He shot a music video for one of his diss tracks aimed at Dolph and filmed it in a graveyard. In the clip, he's rapping right in front of a tombstone with the name Thornton carved in, Dolph's real last name. That move sent shockwaves through the streets and the internet alike. People were stunned he'd go that far, especially so soon after Dolph was murdered. But Youngster didn't flinch at the backlash either. Instead, he clapped back on Instagram saying, "I'm the type of dude who ain't never sat back and looked for nobody to feel sorry for me." His words only made the controversy bigger, painting the picture of someone who thrives off the chaos no matter how dark it gets. I come from the heart of South Memphis where you don't get no sympathy. I don't even know what that is. With that being said, I could give 2 Fs what the world think about me. That's how Black Youngster was talking, and now folks are saying if even he's stepping back, maybe it's because he knows something. Maybe he sees the storm brewing and is trying to slide out the way before the feds really crack down on Yo Gotti and CMG. And that's the core of the argument right now. People just don't believe Gotti's innocent in all of this, because at the end of the day, the only major beef Dolph ever had that actually spilled into the streets was with Gotti and CMG. So no matter how Hernandez tries to spin his story, the fingers keep circling right back at that camp. And speaking of Hernandez, people are convinced his hands ain't clean either. Why? Because he was already showing his true colors way before he sat down with Vlad TV or any other platform. Matter of fact, he had already gone viral after a heated clash with a blogger named Seti Nash, who had been covering Dolph's high-profile murder case. Nash, a YouTuber, had been one of the loudest voices calling out Govan and the other suspects, constantly saying he didn't buy their innocence. So when Hernandez got his shot, he pulled up on Nash directly. In a tense 13-minute face-to-face, Hernandez let it be known he wasn't happy with how Nash had been talking. The energy was raw, and it gave people a real glimpse of the anger and pride bubbling beneath Hernandez's calm courtroom image. The clash with Seti Nash got heated fast. At one point, Hernandez even hinted that Nash's reporting style could get him banned from Memphis. Nash pushed back, telling him to watch his tone, but Hernandez wasn't backing down for nothing. He went straight for the jugular, comparing Nash to kids who used to get bullied in high school. And then came the part that left everybody watching in shock. Before the conversation ended, Hernandez told Nash, "Whatever money you're making on this YouTube, you need to put it on your life insurance." To a lot of people, that wasn't just empty talk. That sounded like a direct threat, almost like he was telling Nash his life could really be in danger. Some brushed it off as Hernandez chasing clout, trying to look tough, maybe even a publicity stunt, but plenty of others weren't laughing. They're saying if he's bold enough to say something that reckless out loud, just imagine the kind of things he's saying or doing when the cameras aren't rolling. That moment only fueled the fire even more, pushing the idea that Hernandez really is who people claim he is. And now here we are. Because to a lot of folks, it looks like the whole Dolph versus Gotti saga is far from finished. If anything, it's heating up all over again. And the next chapter might be even uglier than the last. And that's where we'll leave it for now. Make sure you like, subscribe, drop a comment, and share this with somebody who's been following the story, because trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. See you on the next one.